Yeah, episode 3, the new meta. We're here with Brittany from Empty Desk Solutions, and yeah, she's going to tell us a little bit about her story and how she got started. And yeah, you know, we always like to kick off with the origin story. Tell us, from birth or however much you want to share.
From birth.
It'll be like a 3 or 4 parter
interview.
So you know, tell us your backstory and then how that transitioned into business, and you know, how you have your business today.
Sure. I would say that my transition to business today has been one that's maybe not typical. So a lot of people that's their plan from day one. Maybe they go to school for something to do that, or for a business itself, and that was definitely not anywhere in my history at all. So I started working. If we go back work history, I was 14, just about 15, and I managed tanning salons. So nothing related to what I do today, but I was in retail management. Pretty young, yeah. But I definitely, even then I learned customer service, obviously, which I still to this day think you can't train that. You either kind of have that or you don't.
Yeah, you gotta kind of just get in there and learn it, right?
You just gotta learn it, right? And I did that very young, and I learned how to connect with people and build relationships, even in that environment at a really young age, and it's, benefited me to this day. There's been different things along the way that have really shaped kind of who I am. So at 20, I was pregnant with my first child. 21, I had her, and I was on my own for a number of years. So, out of necessity, I worked different jobs here and there. Fast forward through all that, and I got an opportunity to go manage the marketing team at Dominion Lending Center's head office.
That's pretty young to be managing, the marketing team. They're a big company.
Yeah, so I was co-managing it with their VP of marketing, but it was such a crazy kind of story how it all happened. So him and his wife actually tanned at the salon that I worked at, and they would always ask me these super random marketing questions, like just, if you own this place, what would you do with this situation? Where would you advertise? And I always thought it was kind of weird, and I would rattle off some.
They're just like getting you ready for the job. You don't even know it.
It's like, who are these people asking me these random questions?
I never knew, and I would just give them some random answer, and suddenly like, okay, your bed's ready. Like, go ahead, have a nice tan. See you later. And that was it. And then one day the wife came in, and she said, your boss might hate us for this, and we know you don't have any marketing experience, but here's the deal. We feel like we're missing this part on our team as a project manager. It's not a role that exists, but we think you'd fit on the team. We've seen you run this place with your eyes closed. Do you want to give it a shot? And that was that. So I gave my notice, and 2 weeks later I started there, and they handed me a laptop, and they said, Kate, your email address is brittany@dominionlending.ca, and 1, 2, 3, go.
That was the training.
That was the training. So I'm not kidding. So everything I've learned in marketing, I was there for almost 4 years, was as a result of kind of, the previous work experience, but what I was learning on the job. So I was very fortunate. I shadowed their VP of marketing, the entire time he was there until he left, and someone kind of came in his place. And he took me everywhere. So any meetings we had with big lenders or production companies, media buys, any of that stuff, I would go. And oftentimes I was silent, and I was just kind of observing and taking notes for him. But I basically got like a real world education in marketing in the course of, 2.5, 3 years without going to school for marketing. Yeah. So kind of like an interesting transition to get into that industry.
But on that approach though, you basically got paid to learn.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, people usually pay good money to go to college and learn.
Pay someone else to learn.
Right? And here you are, following a VP of marketing around, very senior position at a fairly large company that does well. Yeah. And you got paid to learn. Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't really get much better.
And when I started my business, I always thought like, this like imposter syndrome. I felt like, people are going to ask me where my degree is from and where did I go to school for marketing. And in 6 years, it's come up once. Yeah. One time someone asked. Yeah. And they still became a client in the end. They didn't really care. For some reason, they felt like they wanted to ask. And I said, no, I've just kind of learned it all as I go. Yeah. And that was it, because the result is the same. Yeah. Like, whether I go to school or not for something.
People just care about the results.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was that. But starting the business was sort of also an equally interesting transition. Yeah. So a few years into working at Dominion, my husband, who at the time was working for the city, decided he was going to apply to go back to the fire department full time to be a firefighter. So that meant our family was actually going to have a $30,000 decrease in pay from where he started. So most young families kind of living check to check, I was thinking, okay, like, what are we going to do to make up this difference in income? I'm not going to get a $30,000 raise overnight. So let's kind of be creative here. And the nature of his schedule at the time, it wasn't a regular 4 on 4 off yet.
Right.
So he was on what's called a floater schedule. So he had his regular shifts, but they could also tank him with extra overtime whenever.
Right.
He couldn't say no. So a second job for him was just like completely out of the question.
Yeah.
So it kind of became like, okay, what can I do as a side hustle, not 9 to 5, and make some money? What am I good at? And I literally had no idea where I was going to start.
Right.
So I started thinking of, okay, what are my skills? Well, people always call me and ask about social media. Maybe that's kind of an opportunity to explore. But that wasn't even what it was from the beginning.
Right.
So in April of 2014, which is when he went back, I decided, okay, maybe I could do like a virtual assistant type thing, which I
Right.
realized very quickly it was not what I wanted to do. I did not want to answer people's phones and emails, and it wasn't conducive of balancing that in a full-time job. It wasn't going to work. Anyways, I decided, okay, maybe there's something to this social media marketing. So brokers used to call. So in my position, I managed the marketing team, but I also was frontline escalated support. So if
Right.
someone called and there was an issue that the entry-level marketing reps couldn't handle,
Right.
they would bypass that oftentimes angry person to me, and my job would be to calm them down, right, and tell them, okay, this is what you need or don't need, or try and consult. And it was kind of an interesting way of dealing with things. But there were a lot of questions around, do we have someone at head office that can help me with my social media marketing? The answer was no.
Right.
So we had,
and these were in the individual
These are
agents.
brokers.
Yeah, they're brokers. They work for the company, but they're almost independent. I mean, really, they hunt their own leads. It's sort of like a realtor for those that don't know
exactly.
that
They're
space.
independent. So like most brokerages. So there's they're the Dominion, the franchisor, and then they have a bunch of franchisees or the brokerages, and then the brokers are underneath a specific franchise
Right.
and they're on their own. So, but as part of Dominion, so their model is much like Remax, where the brokers pay into an ad fund.
Right.
So as part of the ad fund fee, that's why they will get access to a more robust marketing
Right.
team than some of the other, their competition.
Right.
And it wasn't just like for ads that you would see on TV
Right.
or print or radio or what have you. It'd actually be access to people that would do marketing for them.
Right.
Right. So they could call in and say, "Oh, I'm placing an ad in this magazine. Can you design this?" Yes, and we would do that
Got
for
it.
free for the
Right.
broker.
Yeah. Right.
But the one missing piece was social media.
Yeah.
And I kind of brought it to their attention a couple times, like, people are calling for this, it's not something that I can physically add to my plate because it's full, but maybe there's an opportunity to bring in someone who does that, and it might be a big recruiting piece for you guys because nobody else is doing that. So they didn't do that.
And at the time, like, that was a few years back, like social
Yeah, it's a number
media,
of years
it was a
back.
completely different landscape.
Yes.
Right?
So at that time, what people wanted was just someone to kind of help them get things set up. A lot of the times they didn't even know what they wanted to do with the platforms yet. They just
Right.
thought they kind of, they needed that. So I was kind of stuck in this weird middle position because I knew, okay, this is what I can do. I think I can turn this into a business,
Yeah.
but I'm still working here and I still need this. And my plan all along was actually to have both, just to build up something that does social media
Right.
on the side.
Because you believed
Keep that running.
you didn't believe it was an actual business. You thought it was a good side income.
That's right.
Right, like
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I'll get a few $1,000s out of this to supplement my income in order
Yeah.
to cover that $30,000
Yeah.
gap.
So that
Yeah.
was kind of like the initial plan, and then trying to put checks and balances in place. I won't
Right.
work with any brokers, blah blah blah. Just trying to figure out like how I was going to manage
Right.
doing both without creating a big conflict of interest. But I kind of took a bit of a crazy turn because that was April, and by August, so 4 months.
Yeah.
I had enough clients that I was ready to make a choice. Like, okay, this thing grew faster than I thought. So
Right.
do I keep going and just completely burn myself out? Or do I just quit and jump 2 feet in?
Right.
And that was the choice I made.
Right.
But it was also, working full time under someone else's, schedule, not to mention having them cap the ceiling of what they think I'm worth to be paid. That was a very small piece of it. It was never really about the money. It was more about the freedom for me.
Right.
And even at the salary that I was making, which was decent at the time, 50% of it was gone to childcare right off the top.
Right.
So
Because you had to be in the office.
Yeah.
You couldn't work from home necessarily,
Yeah.
or as much as you needed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the math in my head, it didn't feel like that big of a risk, right? Some people,
Right.
if they don't have all those other expenses, they might think in their head, okay, I can't turn my side hustle into a business until it equals my salary, right?
Right.
A lot of people think of it that way.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like, okay, my salary's this, but after daycare, it's this.
Right.
So I actually only have to make that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is much, much less.
So 50% of my salary is what I had to make to
Right.
be in the same spot.
Right.
So, and it was already there within 4 months. So I just
Right.
thought like, okay, well, I might as well just
Yeah.
Keep going
just
down
do this, just quit and do this.
Then the
That's-
gamble only became, can I sustain that level of income
Yeah.
for the next few months, at least to try to get more clients?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it happened, but I mean, it wasn't by accident. Like I had to work really hard to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wasn't, you know, people always say like, oh, isn't that scary?
Mm-hmm.
No, being a single mom and like starving, that was a lot more scary than
Opening
building a business.
Yeah.
Like there's all these
Yeah.
other things that have happened in my past that have shaped my ability to kind of just deal with
Right.
these kind of hurdles head on.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I knew in the back of my head, like, I'm employable and I have all these great skills.
Right.
So what's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah.
6 months in, oh, I guess I should get a job because this isn't working.
Right.
And that, you know,
Yeah.
that was that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm always trying to encourage, I get approached a lot by other moms who are trying to start businesses or
Right.
they have an idea
Yeah.
and they're like, where do I start, or what advice would you give me? And I say the exact same thing every time. I say, just start.
Yeah.
Like, because you will, it's true, guys, you will figure everything out
Yeah.
as you go. Like, nothing is gonna take you down unless you let it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? You just have to, sometimes you have to shift gears and you know,
Well,
move, but that's,
I think you touched on a really important thing, which is so many people are terrified to actually go out and try to execute something because and the number one thing, I think, whether we admit it to ourselves or not, is that we're scared to start things because we think that our families or our friends are going to judge us. Because if we go out on the ledge and do something we've never done before, there's a decent chance of failure, right? And we just don't want that scrutiny of, oh, well, you know, I told you so, you should have stayed at your job, right? Because that's a conventional wisdom is, well, a job's really safe. Well, it isn't safe because,
Yeah.
you know, there's a recession, there's layoffs. It's
Yeah. Either way, there's risk, right?
Either way, there's
Yeah, both
risk,
ways. Absolutely.
right? And, you know, a job feels more secure, but it actually really, it's a little bit more secure, but it's not that much more secure than actually starting your own thing.
I actually feel more secure now being self-employed than I did before. And depending on the company, right? Some companies have
Right.
more, you know, change with,
Yeah.
with staffing
Yeah.
and what have you than others. But I feel more in control knowing if I want to make more money, I just go make more money. I just market
Right.
a little harder to get more clients.
Honestly,
I mean,
that's the same thing for me. Like, it's the being in control of your destiny,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That, like, if somebody else is in control of that for you because you're working there and you just don't know what's going to happen because of that, that's, for me, that's a lot harder than actually just going out and doing it yourself.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Ricky went through, especially when we opened Blue Meta, but I mean, you know, the conversation that him and I sat down and had was, oh, you know, my son's going to be born in 3 months or whatever it is, or not even maybe 2.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I'm going to leave my job and, you know, 2 months before my firstborn comes,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on my own. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, it's
Yeah.
pretty
Sing
crazy.
this one.
Yeah,
Totally. I mean, I got a lot of sideways looks, you know, where people were like, are you
What are
crazy?
you
Like,
doing?
how can you take this risk? And it's like, well,
especially at this time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what it comes down to. It's you know, controlling your own destiny, and at some point you have to have confidence in yourself that the worst thing that's going to happen is that you fail. It's like, okay, well, if I failed,
There's something else.
I can go back to what I was doing before, or just in a different location,
Yeah.
different, you know, employer. But it's not the end of the
Yeah.
world. You're not going to die.
It's definitely interesting how different people let fear of failure stop them.
Yeah.
And other people just don't. And I really do think a lot of that is from my time being on my own with my kids because, like, you know, it's not a joke that I like starved. Like I literally would have enough money to feed the kids and I wouldn't eat for 3 or 4 days. I would just drink some because that was my reality,
Yeah.
right? But I didn't let any of that, you know, the cards I was dealt hold me there either.
Right.
Right? So I just thought
Well, that wasn't like the narrative. So like you weren't going to let like the narrative control
Exactly.
your future,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
But it really, like, you know, there's a lot of single parents who are quite successful in business, and I'm not a single parent anymore, but
Yeah.
I think that that's, like, in large part, a big contributing factor to why I'm able to just push through certain things, because nothing is that bad.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, nothing
like,
is that scary as what you went through in that situation.
Yeah.
You know, now it's a client could drop you, or you know, something happens, but it's never going to be that bad.
And it's sort of
Ever
just,
in the world of business, at
it's
least.
not. I mean, all my clients could fire us tomorrow.
Right.
And we
right.
could be starting at square one, which is, that could happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're scared and you're living in that fear of that always happening, then you're never opening the door to any other opportunities.
Yeah.
Right? I used to get really focused on like if we would lose a client, which doesn't happen that often, but when we did, I would feel like I would take it really personally, or
Yeah.
they must not like me or whatever. And I would kind of stay in this zone where I was kind of obsessed with trying to figure out why they left, which didn't allow me to open the door for just, you know, room for new people.
Yeah.
And every time it happens, the same day or the day after, we usually get inquiries like double what that person was worth to our company, which is kind of crazy. But
Yeah.
I think that it's literally the universe is like, oh, you've made room now.
Yes.
We can send these people your way.
And it's interesting because usually, well, not always, but sometimes what I find is that those that leave, especially if it's on good terms, sometimes they took maybe a bit more time than others, and you now have time for two instead of the one, right? And all of a sudden those two walk through your door. We actually had something similar happen, but yeah, one left, and you know, 4 are coming in, and it's how it goes.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how that works, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, I feel like the universe only gives you like what you can handle at any one
Totally.
point in time, no matter how hard you try and
Yeah.
you know, grasp at new opportunities.
Yeah.
But until you actually have that space mentally to take on more,
Yeah.
it just doesn't come your way.
What's that quote? Like, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So you can only grasp as much opportunity as you're prepared for. To your point, really.
Yeah. I thought you were thinking of the Parks and Rec quote, which is
Oh.
like, luck is created by the weak to explain their failures.
Oh my
No.
gosh. I love it.
Oh, Parks and Rec.
But you know, I hear that sometimes too, right? People, oh, you're lucky. Your business did this. You're so lucky.
Jeez,
It's like,
yeah. No.
oh man, like sometimes I'm up till 3 a.m. working like crazy to
Yeah.
make it work. But you know, I feel very fortunate for sure to have built what I've built, but it's not because there was zero effort put in.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because that gets thrown around a lot. I mean, for people that own their own businesses, or you know, Hollywood celebrities or whoever it is, it's like, oh, look, they're an overnight success. And people are like, oh no, I grinded away for years.
Yeah, you're only seeing the tip of the iceberg, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Success.
It only takes you know, a few years to become an overnight success.
Yeah.
So it's how it goes, right? And even if it's a brand new business, and it goes really well in 2-3 years, well, what about the other 3 or 4 things that you did that maybe didn't go so well that you had to learn from in order to be able to build that business very quickly?
Yeah.
Right. But people don't see it. They only see what's in
Well,
front of
see
them
what
now.
they want to see, right? Like they're seeing your story through their lens, right?
Yes.
So people might be, you know, the experience I had was real, and that's how I experienced it. Someone else that was maybe following along or even around me, maybe that narrative is totally different for them, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, neither here nor there. I mean,
Well, I think that, you know, I think it comes down to self-awareness to some degree, because when I say that person was lucky, I actually stop myself and I say, well, okay, why am I having this reaction? And inevitably I'm having that reaction of saying that person's lucky because I don't want to feel that I'm lesser to them, right? So how do I explain that they're doing something better than I am? It's like, well, it's luck, because I don't want to admit to myself that they may know something that I don't know, and then I quickly ground myself, you know, in the logic brain rather than the initial emotional response, and I say, okay, well, no, they're doing something. I need to reverse engineer what they're doing to figure out what it is they're doing that I'm not doing, so I can learn from it.
so you can also
So that I can also do that. Exactly, right? But if I say it's luck, then it's like, well, it's luck, and I walk away, but I didn't learn anything, and now I can't push myself, and I can't figure out what it is. Right?
Yeah.
So.
On that note, like, tell us about hard work, like your perspective on that, because you know there's a conversation out there right now, which is a lot of people on the one side saying, you know, you shouldn't work so hard, and then
work-life balance.
Exactly, and you know, and everyone has their own perspective on what hard work looks like. You know, oh, I'm working so hard, right? So like, what is hard work for you, and like, what's your perspective on it?
Oh, I feel like that one's super tricky to answer because
It's super subjective. So I mean, there is no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer, really.
no, I think it looks much like success. It looks different to everybody. So
Yeah.
for me, personally, I hate all the like hustle, all that stuff that's out there from certain gurus and whatever.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they're telling people like this is what you have to do to achieve success, and success is this, right? It's like they put it
It's
in
a box. Yeah.
right? The success is like, you know, it's $1 million in the bank and you need to like basically burn yourself out to get there.
Right.
So hard work to me isn't like drilling yourself into the ground, working 23 out of 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Hard work is strategy and focusing. For me, it's focusing on what tasks do I actually need to do that are working on my business and not in my business.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of figuring out how to get out of the tactical stuff and more into the strategic stuff.
Yeah.
But if I look at hard work in general, I think it depends what you're doing as well, right? Like even if I go back to even when I was in retail, you know, you could arguably say, yeah, I worked harder than most of the other people working there.
But there's a benchmark for that type of work. That's
Yes.
kind of the point. So it's
Yeah.
so it's subjective to what
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
doing, really.
Yeah. So you could say, oh, Brittany works harder because she's actually talking to customers and this person isn't. Okay, sure. Like that makes
Yeah.
sense
Yeah.
in that situation.
Yeah.
But when you look at it from a business owner perspective, you know, sometimes you watch someone, they're just like spinning their wheels because they can't. It's like they lack being that, I don't know what it is. They lack something that allows them to actually see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So I think hard work is being able to see that bigger picture and make a plan of how you're going to
Yeah.
get there and achieve
Right.
the goals along the way, not necessarily hours put in,
Right.
which is what I think people
Yeah.
typically associate with hard work.
But when you own your own business, how many hours you put into it doesn't actually matter. As long as you're getting the results that you want to see. I think that, you know, from my angle is happiness is the outcome that you're trying to hunt for. It's not necessarily money. I mean, if money makes you happy, then
Fine.
go for it. Like, you know, go get money, go
Yeah.
get that, you know, Ferrari or whatever it is that you want.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think the first step is you have to define your own happiness and say like these things are the things that if I have them are going to make me happy. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing, to your point, is okay, what's my plan in order to attain those in the balance that I think I need? Now, if you get close, as you start approaching that, as you're executing, you can say, well, actually, now that I'm getting closer to it, it actually is a bit different than I thought it was, then change it.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, I always tell people, you know, we're filming this and people are like, well, isn't that nerve-wracking? Like, what if somebody criticizes you online? And I say to them,
Oh.
I'm entitled to change my perspective. If somebody comments something online and says you're wrong and this is why you're wrong, and I read it, I'm like, they have a really good point. I can now change my perspective to that person's perspective. You know, I'm not locked in, and neither is anybody else. So if you put your happiness plan down, you're hunting after it, and it changes, like let it change.
Yeah.
Don't fight it, right? So
I think that's interesting about like different types of businesses as well, that, you know, like how I was saying, okay, in the beginning I thought, oh, maybe I'll do this, and then it kind of just like morphed into something else.
yeah.
And the services have slightly changed as the years
Yeah.
have gone by, as has the type of clients and how we do, you know, execute on the actual tasks, those kind of things. And I think that that's also maybe the other like key ingredient in this whole like success recipe for me, is being able to adapt to the changes
Right.
as they come and not being like really pig-headed on like, no, this is the direction we're taking, right? Because I see a lot of people try and start businesses and they're smart and they have a great idea, they have funding or whatever they need to get started,
Right.
but they are not able to shift either what they're doing or their perspective, like you're
Right.
saying. So it doesn't end up going anywhere in the
Yeah.
end, and it's
Yeah.
kind of sad, right? Because you're like, oh, that person could have been really successful at doing that. They
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
weren't willing to make some changes.
Yeah, it's a tough thing, like knowing when to stay the course and when to change. But you know, like we're changing stuff every week. You know, and it's like the big things, like you know, vision of like long-term goals. It's like that hasn't changed. But
Yeah, how
like
do you get there?
exactly, you have to
Change.
continue
Yes.
to pivot.
Well, the thing is that you can't. It's impossible to. What is it? The Steve Jobs like speech. You can't connect the dots forward. You can only connect them backwards. So in retrospect, you could say, oh, I could do that better. I should have done that better. I could have done that better. But on the way forward, it's almost like, I always tell people it's the fog of war, right? There's this fog in front of you and you can only see like 2-3 steps ahead. And, and if you're a brilliant person that like knows their topic of interest, maybe you can see 5. But to attain success or happiness, you need to see 100 or 1,000 steps ahead, which is impossible.
So you have to just kind of roll with it
to some
degree, right?
You just got to step forward and start doing things, right?
Yeah.
And as you step forward, you might realize, oh, I need to go backwards 5-10 steps and go to the left or to the right or whatever it is, and just take things as they come. But if you sit around like pontificating about things, you're never going to get more information than whatever the fog around you is, right?
Well, that's why when people ask for advice and I say just start, it sounds kind of stupid, right? Like you give them 2 words, you say just start. Yeah, I do, because I don't know any one business that's been like day one I said I'm going to do this and they're doing the exact same thing the same way 20 years later.
You just don't there's certain things you will not know until you figure them out.
So people obsess over that, whether they're starting business or even clients, like if they want a website or a social campaign or what have you, whatever we're helping them with, sometimes they get in this space where they're obsessed with like perfectionism in every element of their marketing. And we're like, okay, but you don't really know what's going to work. So let's put some of these things out there and then perfect the ones that are, outperforming the others, right?
Right, yeah.
I mean, it's just, you have to be able to adapt, right? And some people let things like, a website hold them up from launching a business. We see it all the time. They're like, oh, I can't start my social because my website's not done.
Don't have a website? Get a Facebook page.
Start
somewhere.
And like, your website's never going to be perfect, right? Like there's always going to be something, you don't like that button or you want to change the color or you're going to add a new page.
Yeah, it's never done.
Or the copy doesn't resonate anymore because it resonated 2 weeks ago.
And you change it. But you're going to change that stuff as you go. So why let it hold up all this other stuff that's going to move you, forward and wherever that is that you're trying to go, right?
Ricky and I will say to each other, perfection isn't never the goal, it's always progression. Right? We would rather launch something, make a mistake, and then fix it quickly. So you need to be obsessed with launching and then fixing it as it's launched. It's like, will the boat float? Sort of, but it takes on water. It's like, can we bucket out the water as it comes in? Yes. Okay, launch it. We'll fix it as the water comes into it.
Is it better than what we have now, right? It's like,
absolutely.
Because, you could spend forever just finding all the little things. And you really you have to look at the risk at the end of the day. It's like, okay, if you're talking about, a medium, large size business, there's a lot more risk, right? So you may want to just address things a little bit differently, right? But especially for a small business, it's like, how many people are really going to see this the first day that it comes out? Versus like 2 years down the line when you've already perfected it,
figured it out.
And then people, like a lot of people are seeing it.
It's just interesting to watch people get hung up on certain things, and so we really try. Sometimes it's pushing our clients out of their comfort zone, but we're like, okay, let's just do this. My team hates it when I launch new things because I get on a call, I'm like, we're gonna have this package, and they're like, okay, it sounds like a lot of work. I'm like, I already launched it.
This is more of an FYI.
They're like, oh, well, how are you gonna do this, or how many videos are included? I'm like, I don't know. When the first person calls, we'll figure out how we're gonna make it work. I'm like, but until we get the first client on that package, I don't care. This is what it is, and we will put in all those pieces.
And if we see halfway that the value isn't what we thought it would be, then A, change it, and then just B, add things that we already know that work and throw them in for free so that the value equation for the client works out, right? It's not a big deal as long as you have them in mind, right?
Like from their perspective, I mean, they're looking to maintain, right? And they want to make sure that things are good and that there's no huge rocking the boat, right? And so, I can see for some people, that would definitely rock the boat. And it's like, okay, now this huge new thing that we have to tackle. But, you just have to build that culture, right? Where it's, being open to new things, because when you talk to people individually, the majority of them, they're going to say, I want to grow. I want to see the business grow. I want to see this move forward. Well, then you got to try new things. Right?
I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, they do have to try that. You're right. They do have to be adaptable. Sometimes it's within their comfort zone and sometimes it's not. But if they're not willing to make any changes, well then how do you help them as someone in marketing, right? We're giving you advice and we're telling you that we think this will work, but we don't know either at the end of the day. Every business is unique.
Everything's a test. I think people don't realize that. I mean, you can have the most comprehensive strategy on the planet, it's a test. You're saying, I'm making an educated guess based off the data, based off my experience, based off all these factors. I think this has a reasonably good chance at success. So when, and you must get the question as well, because we do.
What's the return?
What's the return tangibly? It's like, well, this is a test, just like everything else. And if things start working, like we agree on the KPIs between us, it's like, okay, what KPI do you want? Okay, cool. We're to measure that metric. These are the 5 KPIs. We're going to measure this, and we're going to test a bunch of things, and we're going to see how that affects the results. And it's an iterative process.
It's interesting, and you guys probably come up against the same kind of questions or battles. We like to call them with our clients. We're like, oh, this is a little mini battle. We have to prove our kind of our approach, our strategy. But we find that businesses have a hard time figuring out, partially because we can't give certain data from their side, right? On what the real return is of like content marketing, specifically what we do. So we can say, all right, your key performance indicators might be X amount of website traffic or X amount of clicks or whatever. We can figure that out.
Or this lead form got filled or whatever it is.
If they have a conversion goal or what, and that's fine. We can figure that out. But if they don't have their nurturing processes in place or their communication on how they're going to close a sale, which happens on their end, that's really tough for us, right? It's like, well, we've done what we promised we would do. We can't close a sale for you, right? That's your thing. And then they think, oh, a lead means, money in the bank tomorrow. No, a lead's someone you might have to nurture them for a year in some kind of email campaign.
Depending on their sales cycle. Some sales take a year, some sales take 2 weeks. Or instant if it's e-commerce.
And it really depends. So we find like that's sort of an uphill battle for us in content marketing is we know it works. It's the only thing that we do for our own business, and we've grown to multiple 6 figures in a matter of a couple of years. So we know that there's something to this little piece of social media marketing. And that's not even paid advertising. That's hardly even boosting it. And that's just organic, regular content going out that has built our brand over the course of a number of years, and people trust us. Like that's it. There's no rocket science behind our strategy, right? But
the thing is that you do it. You execute against it.
And we're consistent.
Yes. Which is very difficult.
And well, that's why we have a lot of clients that we do content for, because they a lot of the times they'll try it. I can do this myself, right? I can post 3 times a week.
And then they call you a month later.
Absolutely you can, but you have to make that a priority. And then, there's all the other ins and outs. Do you know what hashtags you want to use? No. Okay. Do you have are your images using with it branded? No. Okay, so how is it a brand build? They're like, oh, I don't know. But it's just a...
Well, I mean, they can figure it out if they want, but I mean...
They just have to spend the time.
Well, the thing is that, and the question that I ask clients or potential clients all the time is, would it be better for your business to focus on what you're good at or focus on learning a brand new skill that you currently don't have? What's in your best interest, right?
And that decision is going to look, how they make it's going to look different for every business as well. So some people say, absolutely, I want to focus on my own business. I don't want to learn this social stuff. But then they're not, at the end of the day, maybe they're not prepared to spend between like $500 and $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever that package is to accomplish those goals. It doesn't make sense for them maybe yet to spend that. So that's another discussion, right? And what's what's their budget and how to find something that works. But there's other ways to accomplish all these things, and we're very open with our clients as well. When they come to us and they want us to put together a proposal, we customize it, we send it off. And if they come back and if the answer is, I just can't afford you guys, which happens, right? It happens to anyone who's in any business, let alone just marketing. We say, okay, there's other ways that you can accomplish this. We're going to give you some advice. It's free. Hey, if you want to take, we can put together a strategy for you, just give you the strategy. And then you can have a junior assistant do it. If the templates are in place, you can learn it. Here's some courses. Here's some places to find contractors. Like we do give them other options. And whether they choose to explore them or not is kind of their choice. But yes, you're right. There's multiple ways to get there.
There's so many ways, and it really comes down to them being able to figure out like how they want to handle it. Because everyone's different. Some people have to be involved, right? And other people are comfortable just being like,
here you
go take care of it.
We definitely have a mix of both. We've had people as well that we've kind of felt like, okay, they want some more control than what makes sense when you're outsourcing to a third party. So we've kind of put together some, consulting and okay, this would be better if you bring someone in-house because I think you want a little more control than
Yeah.
what's reasonably going to happen if we manage
Yeah.
it. I mean, our clients get to approve all their content. It's not like we're just posting
Yeah.
whatever the heck we want all day. But sometimes they want, you know, maybe they want to be able to call someone and have something posted within 5 minutes. You know, and
Yeah.
we might say, okay, we're going to do our best to get stuff out even within a couple hours. But sometimes, you know, our team, we all have families too. Sometimes we're busy, so
Yeah.
maybe it makes sense for you to have someone in-house. But we've also had people that have gone down the road of, we've said, hey, budget-wise, like it doesn't work yet. Why don't you try a contractor and see if you can accomplish what we're saying we're going to do
Right.
at a cheaper rate? And guess what? 3 months down the road, they come back because they're like, I don't want to manage this person, right?
Yeah.
I'd rather just
The
like,
cost of
my
managing
time.
somebody is
Exactly.
time.
Yeah.
And that's already what they don't have. That's why they're looking for a
Yeah.
solution to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very hard to explain that to someone. You know,
They have to
where,
experience it
Yeah,
before they understand it, and
Yeah.
we know that now, but we at least feel good that we're putting the information out there from
Yeah.
the beginning to say,
Right.
hey, you know, we are one option for you, just one. You know, if you feel like we're a fit for you, great, we want to work with you. But if we're not, here's some other ideas, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes we know they're not even a fit for our client base.
Right.
And in that case, we maybe don't even give them a proposal. We're recommending some other kind of
Yeah.
options as well. But that's
Yeah.
stuff we've learned over time too, right? We
Yeah.
took people in the beginning that, looking back, we should have never taken these people on.
Yeah.
But
It is what
one
it
in
is.
the business, and that's just kind of, you know, most people starting off what we do, that's what they do, right?
Yeah.
They just
Totally.
take whatever comes their way
Totally.
until they figure out, okay, who do I really want to work with and what do I really want to
Yeah.
do, right?
Yeah.
And then it changes.
Well, and when there's too much resistance from the other side as well, is the problem that becomes that you're both becoming more ineffective.
Yeah.
So you're actually doing each other a disservice, at which point it's like, okay, you need to bring this in-house.
Yeah.
Or do it yourself in some cases, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
In general, what I tell clients is, if you have a management level person, like frontline manager, like, you know, the lowest manager on the totem pole, and you're saying, okay, I want this person to manage this other person. Like, look, a manager should be the opportunity cost of their time. So, I mean, if, for example, a manager makes, you know, $80,000 a year, for example. So, okay, well, with benefits all in, that's, you know, call it 100, you know, just to have a nice square number. Well, their time after vacation time and everything is probably like $55 an hour, right? Because there's 2,000 somewhat hours in the year, but that's before vacation, that's before stats, that's before meetings, offsites, blah, blah, blah. So effective time is, you know, much less. So it's like $55-$60 an hour. Well, for that person to be effective in their job, they're producing anywhere from 3 in smaller businesses all the way to potentially even 10 times their value per hour, their cost per hour for the business in terms of upside, in order for them to maintain their position and for the company to maintain its business model. So when people are like, well, I'm just going to bring this in-house, it's like, okay, well, the numbers show that you can only manage about 5 to 7 people. After 7 people, things get completely disjointed. I mean, you can go to 12 if the 12 are incredibly independent.
Yeah.
So let's say if it's 5 times, so somebody's getting paid $50 an hour effectively. Okay, well, 50 times 5, 250. So every hour that you spend with a potential employee, that's $250 of upside gone. So how many hours a month do you have to spend with them in order to cover our bill? And the answer is not many.
Yeah, we used to try and draw the comparison between what we do and if you were to hire an employee, how many hours they would need.
Yeah.
And it never makes sense, right? Like, it's usually like, yeah, okay, it makes more sense for you guys to do this, even at, you know, more premium rates sometimes. But if they're at a point where their business can sustain a full-time salary,
Right.
and what we do, it can be a part of that person's job, then absolutely we say, well, try it this way, and if you need some more help or a small piece of what we do, we can help them, train them, consult them, whatever that looks like. But usually when someone's looking at, let's say, like, you know, $1,000 to $2,000 a month plan for social, who are you going to hire that's going to work for $1,000 a month for you?
That actually knows what they're doing and why.
Yeah.
Because that's actually the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not that, you know, even if, you know, we've had the same conversation where somebody says to us, like a VP of sales says, I'm looking to hire, a senior marketing manager, ballpark 80K
Yeah.
ish. It's like, okay, well, you're going to hire this person and they still haven't done anything. So like media spend, all of this is on top. So that's a lot of money per month. And that person, depending on the size of your business, might need a coordinator.
Yeah.
Again, you still don't have the media cost. And then what about graphics? Well, a marketing coordinator doesn't do graphic design or video or any of these things. You need specialists for that. So that's on top. So instead of taking that 80 or 120 or whatever that number is, if you actually give that to an agency, it almost, I've done the math on it just to see where that break point is. Like usually, unless a company is pushing out well over $100 million, like it never makes sense to bring it in-house.
Yeah.
Minus maybe having a marketing manager to oversee things.
Yeah.
And that's only if the VP of sales isn't marketing focused or oriented. If they don't know their marketing and they need that internal consultant, then it makes sense.
Yeah.
But if the VP marketing is a VP, or sorry, if the VP of sales is a VP of sales and marketing and they know the strategy, putting it out almost every single time makes sense, except for very specific industries and very specific situations.
Yeah.
But I would say 80% of the time, you're always behind.
Yeah.
And this is why like you see so many so many small businesses trying to hire unicorns, right? Because
Yeah.
Totally.
good luck trying to find that person that can do your video, your design, your digital, like your writing, like everything. And
In one person. At 45K a year, it's like,
Yeah.
who is this mythical being? Point me to where they are because I want to
like
hire
them.
them. Totally.
We definitely get that a lot, right?
Yeah.
And we have a lot of things for our clients' marketing. So we tell them like, hey, we're basically like a mini marketing team in your back pocket.
Exactly.
For an hourly rate. You don't have to pay us a salary. So,
Totally.
but sometimes they get hung up on like that hourly rate. So, typical agency is still charging much more than what we are, right? Where our rates are hourly. But in their head, they're like, but I could find a junior person that's like $25 an hour.
But they don't have that level of skill.
Right,
That's
so
the
the skill's
problem.
one piece, but also we're like, okay, well, can they be like, we're going to be like 5 times as productive as they are. So we're actually cost you less.
Easily 5 times. That's a
Yeah.
thing that people don't realize because they can't wrap their head around that.
Yeah.
They can't wrap their head. It's like, well, how can you be 5 to 10 times more effective? It's like, we can. We've seen it so many times where
Well, especially when you have like
Yeah.
a really specific focus. So when we're talking
Yes.
about social media content, we write it all day long.
that's all you do.
For a relatively large client base. So
Yeah.
something that, takes us, we put together a plan that's monthly for our clients. So if we get faster at that or slower at that, it doesn't change what they pay, which
Yeah.
is good for them to predict their costs, right?
Yeah.
But what we do, like, I'm not joking, like we've had stuff sent to us from clients that they've tried to have like a contractor hire an employee to do it.
Right.
And it's nowhere near the level of quality. It's okay, like they could use it and they could
Right.
post it, but it's not quite, as polished as what we would put out. And the amount of time it took someone to put it together is like unreal.
Yeah. So the other thing would be, what we've talked about success here and there in this conversation, but what is success to you? Because it is subjective, right? And it's very personal. So you share that.
Definitely subjective. And my interpretation anyways of what success is for me has changed depending on where I am in my life. Right?
Totally.
Which is, people think, like we were saying before, that success is, $1 million and this and that and all these things, fancy car, big house, whatever.
Yeah.
And okay, sure, maybe that's someone's version of success.
Those things are nice.
But of course, right? I want that, but I don't. I live in a 2-bedroom row home with 3 kids. Things maybe will look differently in a few years. Who knows? But my my former boss actually asked me just randomly one time we were out for lunch, and he said, "Hey, like, what is success to you?" And no one had actually ever asked me ever that question, and I kind of thought about it for a minute, and then I remember saying to him word for word, "Success to me would be able to pay my bills and feed my kids and not worry about people chasing me that I owe money to." Literally, that was what success was for me then. I wanted to just have enough money to survive.
Yeah.
And then, a year later, okay, that wasn't what success to me anymore. I had achieved that. So
Right.
success looked different, right? So success was, I want to figure out how to make more money in my current job so
Right.
that I can buy more things for my family that I want or invest or what have you.
Yeah.
And then when I started my business, it was, well, right before, I guess, when I was kind of trying to start it, was, okay, success to me is making the same amount of money that I make now, but having all the freedom I want to do whatever I want with my kids, because they're growing up fast and I want to spend time with them, right? And we have a visitor.
Nice.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh well.
Nope.
She's gone. That's awesome. You should leave that in there. But success to me now is, it's sort of like little bits and pieces of it all, but it just keeps kind of evolving for me. So the time freedom is still like really huge for me. Maybe that looks different when my kids are grown, but right now flexibility, being able to just do what I do, but have a work schedule that's flexible is everything to me. You know, and not, I wonder if you can see her now, not being limited to where I have to work, when I have to work, who I get to work with, you know, and how much money I can make at the end of the day and what I do with it. You know, just, I guess one word is like freedom. Success to me is freedom. You know, and as long as I can
That's a big
sustain,
one.
And for me as well, like huge part of it, just the freedom.
What's weird about freedom is that freedom works a lot like working more than you did at a job, but on your own terms.
It's true.
Right?
Sometimes though. Sometimes.
Like, it may not be freedom in the short term, right? But long term, like, that's kind of, you know, what you're trying to get to.
At the beginning when you're pushing, you're definitely putting in more hours than you would at your job.
You're building your systems
Totally.
and you're figuring everything out. And there's still, you know, there are like chunks of time that might be like a week or two where I'm just working like ridiculous hours. You know, I'm working like 18 hours a day and somehow taking care of the kids, and I don't even know how it functions, but it does. But then there are other days where I might work 2 hours and my business operates the same. And that's just as a byproduct of putting systems and the right people in place to make it operate a little bit more independently of me. So can I step away at this point? No, but I'm not limited. So I just like that feeling of knowing that someone else is not determining what my worth is financially, what I can make. You know, my previous job, I wouldn't have been able to, I mean, the pay was good for what it was, and I loved the job, I love the people, I miss the people a lot to this day, but I didn't have enough flexibility to invest. I wanted to invest in real estate. It wasn't an option. I didn't, you know, what am I supposed to do, right? Go to my boss and, can you pay me an extra $50,000 this year because I want to buy a rental property? Right, it just didn't happen. So now I get to have all the freedom in the world, but I can use the money that my business makes to invest for our future. It just wasn't, you know, an option then. So I think it's really key for people to really, when they think about success, and not necessarily get stuck on it having to be what success is to everybody else, because it is subjective, right? Yeah.
So if somebody, you know, asked you the question, well, I'm a single mom now, or a single dad, either or, I'm scared, like, how do I approach this? Like, what do I do first? Like, what would the top 2 or 3 pieces of advice that you would give that person, what would those be?
Well, if they wanted to start a business specifically, like I was saying before, it's just, okay, well, if you have an idea, just start, like, literally go to a name search, register your name. Do you need a GST number? Right, put all those little pieces in play. Just look up a startup checklist, or ask us for one, or some of our partners ask them for one, and they'll help you. But it's just
figure out what you're good at, kind of thing, and then just like then put a plan together. Start.
Just start writing a plan, and it can be so elementary at the beginning what your plan looks like, because it will change as your business grows, and you have to put people in place or different systems and processes. That plan will be like a monster by the time you're done with it, right? And ours is crazy. Our operations manual is like, I have to spend some time there, but I mean, just start, go with it, and don't be scared of the failure, because whatever you're doing now, you know, if you're in the position where you're asking for advice on how to start this, clearly what you're doing now you don't like. Or there's something you want to change, but you probably could fall back on that 9 times out of 10.
Right?
There's usually something that, whether they went to school for it or not, they have some kind of skill that they've used to have a job. You know, if they're unemployed, maybe different story, right? But there's multiple ways to do things. Right? So even if you're, you know, I've had friends that are single on their own with their kids, and the amount of resources available to them to actually start a business as a single parent, there are many. There's different grants, there's government programs.
There's more today than there have ever been. Like, I remember 5-10 years ago, these things did not exist. Now they do. And I've seen some of them. There's substantial amounts of money.
Yeah, we qualified for a government grant twice for business coaching, which is something in the beginning that I never would have been able to afford.
Yeah.
But I don't think it exists anymore, but it used to be called the micro business training program. So if you
Okay.
had less than 5 employees, you could get up to 70% or something like that for coaching.
Yeah.
So I was introduced to a coach, and then a year later, after I was done her program, she had launched this program called Business School for Busy Entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And it was a year-long program to basically build systems in every area of your business. Like
Yeah.
really changed the course of the direction for me and how I thought of the business. That's where I actually removed myself or tried to start removing myself from a lot of the tactical work to be more strategic.
Yeah.
But I got another government grant for that.
Oh, wow.
So I'm always telling people, like, just look for those other opportunities. They're there. You might have to dig a little bit, but they're out there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I just wanted to add, like, on the note of, like, just starting, I think a lot of people get stuck because they're like, oh, well, somebody's done that and somebody's done that, right? They want to do something that's completely unheard of, totally unique.
Which is very difficult.
It is, because
everything's been done to
everything's
some
been done.
degree.
And it's like, look at how many, different brands of, like, burger places there are in the US, right? It's like, has somebody else opened up a burger place?
It's
Yes, they have,
revolutionary.
right? But there's so many making so much money, and they're all in different regions. Like, so you don't have to do something that's totally unique. It's like, just look at where you live, look at the market. If you're doing something local, it's like, is anyone else offering that service?
Yeah.
There might be other people offering that service. Like there's like hundreds of agencies in, like, marketing agencies in BC, and like they're all, like, most of them are doing just fine, right? So
But it kind of
They're all
goes-
doing something slightly different, right?
Yeah.
And so there's always like a niche for that
Yeah.
person or that company, right?
We have lots of competition, not as much locally as you would think, because there's
Right.
typically, like, there's a lot of freelancers.
Yes.
And then there's a number of big agencies. There's not a whole
In the
lot of
mid-tier there
small-
isn't.
Yeah, so, and maybe they just don't market themselves and we haven't found them, but that's sort of
Could be.
what we've found over the last 5-6 years. But, the whole just starting because your idea is not necessarily, like, revolutionary. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because if you go back to the whole, like, who do people do business with? People they know, like, or trust.
Yeah.
Right? So I might have someone next door that does the exact same thing as me.
Yeah.
We're going to get a different client because people are going to like either the way they market themselves or something about them, or, like, we get a lot of people that are attracted to us because of the family aspect.
Right.
So a lot of our clients are other parents that are like, I can't manage this stuff on myself.
Right.
What am I going to do? And then they just resonate with the kind of messaging we're putting out there. So being afraid of competition.
Yeah, I mean,
Why?
in terms of starting, what I always tell people is before you start anything, test the water by pre-selling. But then, and in some cases it is actually like, collecting a deposit before you even open the business.
Yeah.
But in other cases, it's also pre-selling can be just getting verbal commitments, right? Like, hey, can I get this? Or I'm going to open this business in a month. Are you willing to come on? But I might not, and be just honest with people. And if you can get enough commitments and it's enough for you to survive, then cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and how you were talking about, testing, just different kind of testing. Starting a business is no different than when you have started in your marketing. That's a test. Starting is a test. Will it work? Will it not work? Are people going to want your service? Are they not?
Yeah.
Is it
Absolutely.
Talk to people,
pricing?
ask
Like,
around.
gosh, there's so many. Yeah, ask around for sure. There's so many different variables, and then I guess, like, the third piece of advice would be not to give up at the first time something maybe doesn't go exactly as planned.
There's a lot of those times.
Yeah.
And you have to push through them.
And we've talked about how you kind of, have to be able to evolve and change in your business, but you see people, they'll start and they think they have everything mapped out, and then 6 months down the road something happens. They lose their biggest client, or they're not selling where they thought, and they're like, oh, it must not be for me.
Yeah.
Right? And they kind of, it sounds silly, but it's true, right?
Yeah.
People just tap out, and you're like, wow, okay, like, you could have gone around that.
Yeah.
If we let every single obstacle trip us up we wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
Right? I wouldn't have
true.
a team and I wouldn't have any clients.
Totally.
But I didn't let it trip me up, so here we are.
Yeah, so thank you so much for being on our show, Brittany. The New Meta episode 3, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Okay, sweet.